Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Her Hoop Stats podcast. Today is Tuesday, October 14th. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody watching from Canada. My little fan group strong here in Canada. That was yesterday. If you're not in Canada, we celebrate Thanksgiving at the proper time of year. So shout out to that. Thank you so much for watching the Her Hoop Stats podcast. Make sure to subscribe here wherever you are listening or watching, and make sure to check out herhoopstats.com for daily newsletters sent right to your inbox. And we're also on social media, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, all of that stuff at Her Hoop Stats. I'm Chelsea Lay. I'm here today with Tyler DeLuca for a fun little middle of the or I guess not middle, in between season podcast.
Yeah.
WNBA is behind us. College is just kicking off, but not really technically started yet. So we got some fun stuff to talk about, Tyler. So yeah, let's get into it. I mean, the WNBA finished on Friday. Obviously Brittany and Richard kind of recapped that yesterday on the Her Hoop Stats podcast, but I mean, you and I love to talk about a take. So we're going to talk a little bit just to kick off the episode about that. And then we're going to get into college a little bit.
Sure.
Tyler had an SEC vote for the SEC conference. And so we're going to kind of talk about the conference a little bit. Also get a little bit of Sarah Strong talk in there, of course, because UConn played their first exhibition game of the post-Paige Beckers era yesterday. And yeah, I mean, we're just getting into this really fun time of year where a lot of W stuff is going to start happening in terms of free agency, expansion, coaching,
CBA, if we have any of those things.
Yeah, literally CBA is first top of mind. But then we also get to talk about college. So let's dive into the WNBA finals because the Aces won. They swept. They swept in 4 games. Definitely dominated the entire game on Friday against Phoenix, and then take their 3rd championship in 4 years, which is absolutely wild. And we were joking before we hit record on this pod because, obviously Tyler and I, both work in this space, and, it's our job to kind of analyze things in the moment and give commentary on what's happening in the league. And obviously the Aces were not doing well when you think about June, July. They were kind of bordering on not being in the playoff picture. So we have things to say about it, of course. And then they go and win the championship, which was incredible to watch and really exciting. But, obviously fans like to bring up the receipts, like to talk about, what the discourse was a few months ago. And then the Aces did something really hilarious where they kind of pulled together all of the articles and podcasts or whatever where people were saying that the Aces were washed and put it together into this really funny compilation video. And Tyler and I have something to say about that because we were not included. And low-key, I'm kind of mad about it.
What, the FOMO hitting in?
The FOMO.
Yeah.
It's I'm not going to say I doubted them, but they were concerned.
I did. I did.
Yeah, I
did. I'm okay admitting that they were bad in the first half of the season.
They were bad. I think the thing that these, and obviously you fans are going to celebrate. I'm not getting mad at anybody for celebrating. But when you come to us and we're like, you shouldn't have said that. I'm like, at the time they were bad. What did you want us to do? We're not fans. We're not homers. We're here trying to talk about things in the moment and give some perspective and, analysis. And they were bad.
Yeah,
so
I stand by. I don't regret anything. And I started talking good about them when they started playing good.
Exactly.
I stand by it. I don't
stand by
it. I don't one way or another.
So yeah. So that was one side of it. But the other side of it was the fact that they did sweep Phoenix. And I think, there's a lot to be said about this Phoenix team being underdogs and, peaking at the right time, and the way that their roster was constructed, which was really interesting given that they had, a very top heavy roster, and then, just really scouted well and got a lot of players that had overseas experience, but not necessarily WNBA experience. And, a lot of good came out of that. You had someone like Akoa Makani who came out and had a breakthrough season as a older WNBA rookie, people that hadn't been signed recently just kind of made their mark. But at the same time, were you shocked at the sweep? And what do you think is like the future for this Phoenix Mercury team?
I don't know if shocked would be the word, because I didn't think it was a good matchup for Phoenix, just
Yeah.
generally speaking. Obviously they were playing great basketball and they were playing
Mhm.
confident basketball. And once they it was that game 3 against New York. Like obviously, like
Yeah.
you got to win that game to advance. But like it was like that game, like the post game like interview they had and everything. I was like, this feels different. Like they felt like they had a level of like confidence to them,
Mhm.
and it felt like my worry about Phoenix that I had said throughout the season was their floor worries me about like that
Mhm.
can bottom out a little too low to really like be consistent enough to go and be a true contender in the W.
Yeah.
And to me, they not only raised their floor in the playoffs, but they raised their ceiling and they were playing at a very high level. And we
Mhm.
saw that in game 3, and then we ended up seeing that against Minnesota. And for whatever reason, it felt like after game 1, which is a game that they needed to win. You had
Yeah.
a bad game from your stars, and I felt like that after the game, and I said it in the moment. I'm like, if they lose this series, we're going to be going back to game 1 and be like, they needed to have that. You had the Alyssa Thomas missed free throws. You had a couple moments that like you just had to have that one, and they didn't.
Mhm.
And we saw what happened. And I felt like after that game, the confidence that I had been like, whoa, this is a little different. Like this like obviously like this is the team that had been underdogs, but it felt like they were, yes, they were leaning into the underdog aspect of it, but like they felt like they were meant to be there in that as well. And it felt like they had lost that energy after game 1. And at that point, I still thought they would pick up a win somewhere, but like I thought it was gonna be like 5 or 6. Like I didn't think it was gonna be some like super insane series. Like I didn't think we were going 7 at any point.
Yeah.
And again, I just didn't think it was a good matchup for them. And
Yeah.
ultimately, like I would say again, I still thought we were gonna get 5 at least.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say like surprised by the sweep. 'Cause again, I didn't think it was I didn't think it was a good matchup for Phoenix, just generally speaking. And then
Yeah.
when you have players like Dana Evans and Jewel Lloyd stepping up on top of the stars, that your kind of big 3 of this Aces team
Yep.
doing what they do, at that point it was just raps to me.
Yeah, there's a few things, like, as you were talking that kinda came to my mind, and, like, the first is, like, matchup, of course. I don't think Phoenix ever has or has had the front court dominance to go up against the Aces, who have, obviously, Asia Wilson,
Mhm.
getting Alyssa Smith halfway through the season, which ended up being the trade of the season,
Mm.
which is fantastic for them and for her. You get Cheyenne Parker-Tyus back midway through the season, is able to kind of provide that depth. You have, Kia Stokes, who is good on,
Meg Gustafson as
defense,
well.
and yeah, Meg Gustafson, who is able to provide that depth. And like, I think that was a huge problem at the beginning of the season when you had Gustafson out with injury. They hadn't traded for Alyssa Smith yet. Parker Tice is out, with pregnancy. And then as soon as they get those pieces back, you start to see the vision come together,
Mm.
and then they go on that huge win streak. And I mean, that was after they get embarrassed, frankly, by the Minnesota Lynx, and
Yeah.
they go off. So that's like the first thing, is that they got their depth back in the front court, and that's really where the Aces thrive, because they're playing through a player like Asia Wilson.
Mhm.
But then you also think about things like Jewel Lloyd has never lost a finals game in her entire career.
That's crazy. Like
Like,
that's genuinely insane. And she stepped up
anytime.
in the finals again.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, so she's won 2 titles with Seattle, now 1 with Las Vegas, and she's swept the entire time. And there's, like, the other stat that goes along with that is, like, Sue Bird in her entire career only lost 1 finals game, and that was her first ever finals game. And then she won, I think it was 11 straight after that, to
Goodness.
win 4 championships in her career. Like, that's just kind of the level of player that you're dealing with here. And then the last thing that I think that kind of was like the nail in the coffin for Phoenix was the injuries that they started
Mhm.
sustaining. And I think it was because they were trying to go up against this very strong team in the Aces. So then you get Satu Sabali with a concussion. In game 4, Alyssa Thomas goes down and I think dislocates her shoulder.
Something.
And then
She was certainly holding the shoulder, yeah, and it came back
dislocates, and then
in,
I
but
think they popped it back in. I was saying, so I was at a watch party with a few people who, like, are getting into the W, obviously, because Toronto is about to have
Mhm.
a team, so, they're starting to learn about
Sure.
stuff and whatever, and she went down, and I was kind of like, it shouldn't be that bad. She's already torn both of them, and they were kinda like, "What?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, like."
The labrum lore.
Yeah, the labrum lore, and it's kind of like, yeah, well, I mean, if it's dislocated, they just pop it in. Like, it shouldn't be too bad because she's already torn them, unless she tears something else, or
Mm.
you know. So there's that. She goes down. Then, so it's Satu out for game 4 completely. Alyssa Thomas gets injured right before halftime. And then Kalia Copper, who then has to pick up some of that slack, fouls out before the end of the game. And it's like, as much as a good big three, Copper, Satu, and Thomas are, and like you said, it's just not enough to match up with the Aces when all 5 of their starters, when Jackie Young is having a career season,
Mhm.
when, Dana Evans is breaking out, when Jewel Lloyd is, stepping up in the finals, when Chelsea Gray does her thing in the playoffs, which is like Chelsea Gray is like a playoff player. Like, she loves that moment. So it's like, it's just hard to think that they could have ever kind of mounted a comeback. For me, you said game 1 was kind of the kicker. For me, it was also game 3.
Mm.
If they would have won game 3, I think that would have given them a ton of confidence, win the first one at home, extend the series a little bit, hopefully maybe give you some, and maybe if Satu doesn't get hurt, you kind of build some confidence from there. But that was kind of the point for me where I was like, okay, this is over
Yeah,
kind of
2-1
vibe.
is a whole lot different than 3-0.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Because then you're playing out of an elimination
Mhm.
situation for the rest of the time, and it's kinda, hard to bounce back from that. But yeah, I mean, that's it. The Aces win, the series, they win the championship. A'ja Wilson obviously wins Finals MVP. The crowd boos Kathy Engelbert.
Then them having, like, to blur the broadcast
Mhm.
because the fans, like, throwing middle fingers up and everything. I was like, "Oh, we're getting negative."
So,
Okay.
like, we're there, yeah, so
Alright.
I'm at this watch party, and I'm sitting with a buddy of mine who we always, the joke between the 2 of us is that I put him on Sarah Strong, because
Mm.
the 2 of us watched, one of the NCAA tournament games, UConn against, I think it was Texas, and Sarah
Mm.
Strong just absolutely went off, and now Sarah Strong's, like, his favorite player in the entire world. So we're watching this game, and that happens, and the screen is glitching, and we're like, "What's wrong with the live stream?" Like, we're in Canada. Sometimes the stream goes off or whatever, and we're just like sitting there. And then after I go on Twitter, and I see that it was because there was a fan in the background giving the finger like right behind Kathy's head. I'm like, "Ooh, glorious,
Yeah.
glorious." They were booing, and I also saw something that like the broadcast was trying to like, I don't know, do something with the sound where you couldn't hear the booing as much, but obviously
Mm.
there's fan video and there's video from the arena, and it was loud. And then A'ja Wilson just kind of like skips up, takes her trophy, kind of gives Kathy like a little like eh, and then just like
Yeah, no,
does
the
the whole,
Aces were not.
they
It
were
could have been,
not,
honestly, from an Aces perspective, it could have been way worse for Kathy, to be
yeah,
quite honest. Like that,
true.
like the Aces, like they didn't really give her much attention, but they also, honestly, the worst thing that the Aces could have potentially done to Kathy was give her the attention she didn't want. So I
Mhm.
think Kathy will end up taking the alternative of just not getting any attention, and just she kind of just like went over to the side. And
Yeah, it
I
was
think that was
awkward.
probably the right move from Kathy's perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was.
I think
I'm not surprised, but like it was
no.
loud. It was very
Yeah.
loud.
And I'm not surprised about the players kinda icing her, I'm not surprised about the
Sure.
crowd giving her, but the fact that Mark Davis didn't really even give her, the time of day was really telling for me, because obviously they're kind of on the same team when it comes to
Mhm.
these CBA negotiations. Kathy's kind of the spokesperson of the owners, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, he didn't even really give her the time of day, which goes into my whole other spiel about how, why is this white man the first one to touch the trophy? I get it. He owns the team, blah, 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 blah. But anyways, I do also kind of respect, he took his little moment, he lifted it up and then he passed it along. And he was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
bye."
Yeah, they
But
always give it to the owners first, always kinda weird, but I mean, I guess
I mean, it's
it's their
whatever. Like,
money, I guess.
it's yeah, it's their money, I guess. Um, yeah, so it's like, I don't know, that part to me was really telling of, like, the situation. It kind of was, like, ominous of what we're about to get into now, which
Mhm.
is the CBA, and the fact that it expires in about 15 or 16
Yeah,
days,
start the
and,
countdown.
I'm curious if they end up, because what happened last time was that they ended up extending the CBA for 60 days to give themselves a little bit more time to negotiate. I'm curious if that ends up happening, because if that happens, you are able to do an expansion draft, you're able to kinda start the off season in the sense, but then if they don't reach an agreement like they did last time, then that just puts everything into a halt, and we end up in a situation where we enter a lockout or a strike or whatever.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that's I feel like a lot of people were saying this, and I agree that the finals were kind of overshadowed in a way
Yeah.
by this whole situation. Like, that's the news story right now. And don't get me wrong, congratulations to the Aces. Like, the parade is this Friday. It's gonna be lit. I will be watching. But like,
The series not being very competitive. Well, I wouldn't even say not competitive, but the fact like it went 3-0, like I
yeah,
think was kind of like to a degree. I think the overshadowing of that like played into it as well because the games honestly, like even though the games felt like the Aces dominated, like
yeah,
from just a vibe perspective, the
yeah.
games were close. Like if you're
They
talking like
were
just
close.
free throws away from these like this being a very different series,
Yeah, even
but
that
it
last game, they came up
yeah
I think they came within, like, 6 at one point,
yeah.
4 or 6 points near the end, so it got exciting.
Yeah, no, it felt from like a vibe perspective again that like the Aces were just like blowing them out, frankly,
Yeah,
at all times. But ultimately, that's not what happened.
yeah,
And but I do think partially because of CBA and the massive story that was, we didn't like fully dive into that, and
mhm,
like myself included with that because there was so
mhm.
much going on with the CBA,
The
and
CBA and, like, fee and, like, this whole
there
Kathy
was
versus fee thing,
a lot
yeah.
going on.
There's a lot going
It
on.
was it was a lot going on. We were getting CBA news every day. Like there was some
Mhm.
new like genuinely like impactful quote from somebody from one side or the other, and I mean I'm sure that's gonna continue. Like I don't think
Yep,
it's stopping anytime soon.
especially after the parade and everything ends and they really lock in to, like,
Yeah,
and
no,
don't get me wrong, I do think they're locked in now, like, I do
yeah,
think there's a lot going on behind the scenes that is whatever, but now that season is, like, fully done,
yeah.
it's lock-in
They're about
time.
to ramp it up even more. Goodness.
Yeah, it's about to be a lot, and I think the interesting thing hearing about the negotiations is, like, I think the one thing that is at a standstill right now is the revenue share thing because, obviously the WNBA seems to be giving them an increase of salary. I'm not sure if it's to the level that the players want, but there is like I think I saw they were offering something like a max of $850,000 a year, which obviously is up from the current max of 225,000 a year. Um, but I think the big thing is revenue share because at the
Mhm.
moment, it's like, okay, you don't get revenue share until we hit certain benchmarks,
Right.
viewership, et cetera, et cetera. What I've been hearing through reporting is that the WNBA sets these benchmarks, but then they're not sharing the data
Yeah, it's not an
with
open book with it's
it's
not
not
very
an open book.
transparent. Mhm.
And they're saying, "Nope, you didn't hit the benchmark, so we're not gonna start revenue share," but, then they're not sharing the data,
Mhm.
saying what they did get, what they and so that seems to be the same offer now going into the CBA, and the players are like, "Absolutely not, we're not doing this
Mhm.
thing again," which is fair, like, I think that if you are going to do something like that, it needs to be open, it needs to be fair. You need to be sharing the data, and the benchmarks need to be actually attainable as opposed to just being these like very far off things that are never going to be hit anyway. And yeah, I mean, and maybe it is also that the salaries aren't high enough for what the players want as well. So that's kind of where we are in terms of the CBA
Yeah,
negotiation.
long ways to go.
Long,
We're still at like the tip. We haven't even gotten to like childcare or pensions or like it's just so much. Like this is
and I'm
we're still
sure
at the
all of that's
stage.
happening behind the scenes, but like
Yeah, but
it's not
from a
being publicized, which means
yeah,
it's not like
but honestly, I don't know if it's. I don't know if we've even gotten to that point behind the scenes.
I
Frankly,
guess.
I would like. I hope so. I certainly
Yeah.
hope so. I hope we've had those sort of like those. Also, it's more of a just where we're at now. But I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I really truly don't. Like if we even reach like that point of negotiating what is going on here in the CBA between the players in the league.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't know, like, again, I don't know exactly how it works, but I'd hope there's, like, different people working on different stuff, like, maybe
Mhm,
whoever's, assigned to different parts of the CBA or whatever. Again, I'm not in there, I don't know how it works,
mhm.
but, um, yeah, it's the fact that the one thing we keep hearing about is the salary, and that doesn't seem to be budging is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. So, it's like you said, it's just the beginning. We are definitely not anywhere near a
A long
conclusion on
ways to
this.
go. We'll have plenty to talk about with the CBA. Goodness.
Yeah, and I mean, if the WNBA news kinda sits at a standstill while we, wait for a deal to be reached, we still have college. we
Sure
still
do.
have college, which is kicking off this week. So let's kind of get into college now, because exhibition games have started,
Mhm,
media days are happening,
mhm,
preseason voting is happening,
mhm.
as you know, because you filled out a ballot. Um, so yeah, we'll talk about the SEC for now, just because that's kinda media days happening, there's been some news.
Yeah,
I think the biggest SEC news to come in the past few days is the fact that Chloe Kitts announced she tore her ACL
yeah.
and, will not be playing this season and likely her first WNBA season, which
Mhm,
really, really sucks. She was poised to have such a great last year here with, South Carolina,
mhm.
and, I mean, they definitely need her. They don't have Ashlyn Watkins still, and so their front court, I mean, it's time for Joyce Edwards to kinda step up, I guess, and yeah, it's I mean, we say this every time someone gets injured, but it sucks, like, it's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, no, it does. I actually one, you're 100% right. Like, obviously, this was going to be a big year for Chloe Kitts, and it
Mhm,
sucks that it got ripped away from her in this
mhm.
way. Because she
Yep.
had the growth from like a mid range perspective as well. Like, there was
Mhm.
it was happening.
Yep.
And so I was interested in what that was going to look like after another off season.
Yeah.
I do think though, in comparison to last year, even though as you mentioned, they don't have Ashlyn Watkins, they
Yeah.
don't have Chloe Kitts, I actually think they might be better suited to try and um, recover from that than they were
Mhm.
last year when they just lost Ashlyn Watkins.
Mhm.
And the reason for that is one, Joyce Edwards, as you mentioned, I think is fully ready to like step up and
Fantastic.
like and be like that level of player where she is relied upon. She was the leading scorer last year for them. But also you have whether it be a Dowda on the bench, attack on the bench. You have
Mhm.
Okoth coming in from Mississippi State. Like you have
Yep.
just a bit more depth just in like your forwards and your fives on this roster
Mhm.
compared to last year, where
Mhm.
obviously it's not ideal, and you certainly don't want this to happen, right? Where you
Yeah.
have two of your potential starters out for the season.
Yeah.
Obviously not ideal. Obviously not what you want. But I
Mhm.
do think in comparison to last year when Ashton Watkins went down, I had a lot of questions about
Yeah.
who is going to be the player that steps up here. Just from like whether it just be the rim protection or whatever. Like to me, because of the players that they were able to add, and specifically Okot from Mississippi State,
Yep.
and having Joyce Edwards now have a year under her belt where she was asked to do a lot of different things,
Yep.
and then also you have Tanaya Latson, which helps with the scoring aspect
Yep.
as well. And so even though like you actually have obviously another player out. It's not just Ashley Watkins. You have also Chloe Kitts here. I,
Yep.
I do think I actually have, relatively speaking, even if this might be potentially more impactful than just losing Watkins last year, I
Mhm.
actually feel like I have less questions about like at least where you go from here.
Yeah.
Whether it will be enough or not, we'll have to kind of wait and see. But I think I have less questions this year with these injuries to their forwards than that I did last year.
Yeah.
Just because I think that one, just natural player progression, and also what South Carolina was able to do in the transfer portal.
Yeah. And I mean, you're completely right on that. I think the player that you didn't mention that I'm excited for, not that she'll probably get much playing time, but after 2 seasons, South Carolina has a Canadian again.
There you
Let's
go.
go.
There you
Agat
go.
McKeer is going to start,
Yeah, and she
for
might play.
she might
Everything
play,
like generally like that's like
she might
sure,
play.
like she might
Um,
be off the bench like that. Yeah.
yeah, she is coming off of an injury, so we'll see. I'm sure they'll kinda,
Hmm.
assess that and
Hmm.
kinda ease her in a little bit, but she did play, the U19 World Cup for
Hmm.
Canada, this summer, and so she has played a little bit over the summer, and
Hmm.
so she's not fresh off that injury, but, I mean, great talent if you're thinking about the future of this program.
Yeah.
Whoo, they got a good one in her. She is fantastic and is very long. Like, she's listed as a guard, but she's also very long, has huge wingspan.
Hmm.
And when she kind of starts building up her physicality, I think she's going to be really great for them. So
Yeah.
that's the one I'm looking at. But what I'm thinking is let's just go through this SEC awards list and kind of
Sure.
compare what ended up happening with your ballot
Yeah.
to kind of get your perspective on it. And so I think the fun thing, so they do first is order of finish. So, where you think each team is going to stand in
Hmm.
the SEC. So let's just kind of talk about the top 10 because,
Yeah.
there's a lot of teams
Sure.
here. So the awards list here has South Carolina come first. Texas, LSU, Tennessee, and Oklahoma rounds out the top
Hmm.
five.
Mhm.
And then after that, you have Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, which,
Mhm.
longtime listeners of the
Come on now.
pod will know
You already know,
that you
locked
and
in.
I are Vanderbilt faithful. And then you have Kentucky, Alabama, and Mississippi State rounding out the top 10.
Mhm.
I mean, similar to your list, different? What are some key things here?
Relatively similar-ish.
Mhm.
So one, if I had South Carolina, Texas as my 1 and 2. We voted this before Chloe Kitts was announced to be out, but
Okay.
I still think I would keep that for now.
Yeah, that's
I think
fair.
Texas, they're a Jordan Lee away, who I think can really open up the offense that they have there.
Yeah.
Um, I need you to hear me out.
Okay.
I had Oklahoma at 3. And I know what that sounds like. I understand. I get it. But listen, okay, hear me out. First off,
Tyler.
first and foremost, let me make this as clear as I possibly can. I shuffled 3 through 5, Oklahoma, Tennessee, LSU, a lot. So
Yeah.
I have no issue with any order of those schools. Let me just put that first and foremost. But the reason why I went with Oklahoma is they have Reagan Beers. And
Okay.
Reagan Beers, I think, is going to be one of the best bigs in the entire country. I think
Fair.
she's going to be all SEC first team. I think
Fair.
that she is going to be better after a year in Oklahoma system. It was such a massive shift going from Oregon State to Oklahoma, and I've talked to her about it before, just being
Yep.
here, reporting here. That shift is real, that she had to go through in order to play with this system.
Yep.
You have Peyton Verhulst, who I think is one of the best shot makers in the entire country,
Mhm.
and you have Aaliyah Chavez. And
Yeah.
I'm very excited for what she can bring in terms of they just didn't have great guard play last
Mhm.
year at Oklahoma. And I'm interested in what that looks like, assuming she comes and kind of sets the world on fire a little bit with it. But really, the big thing that made me put Oklahoma over was the stability of Reagan Beers, because
Mhm.
when you look at, because I went Oklahoma, Tennessee, LSU 5th, and I
Okay.
understand that
Okay.
LSU has the talent on the perimeter, and I am a if you've been around, I'm a Flau'jae, I'm a fan. I'm locked in with Flau. And but to me, I guess there's 2 things that worry me about LSU. One, they're bigs. You have Kate Koval coming in from Notre Dame. Yes, their
Yep.
freshmen coming in. What does that look like? It's a bit more unproven to me in that
Mhm.
sense. Whereas,
And they have, oh, South Carolina. Why? Malaysia Fulwiley.
yes,
I don't know
so
why her
that's
name just
but
disappeared
that's the
from my
other
head.
thing that I'm slightly worried about,
Yeah.
because I'm scarred from Haley Van Lith. And the thing is that when you had that problem, you still had Anissa Morrow and Angel Reese down low.
Yeah.
You don't have that here. And
Yeah.
and I'm interested in just what does that function? What does that look like with Michaela
Okay.
Williams, Rajay Johnson, and Malaysia Fulwiley? It could be fantastic. Again, I was shuffling these 3 teams over and over.
Yeah.
And so if it just ends up popping off and working out, I would not be surprised in the slightest. But I
Yeah.
trust having your stability down low in the SEC versus your stability up top in the SEC.
Yeah.
And that's where I leaned with Oklahoma there.
Yeah. Fair. I mean, that makes sense. I I laughed when you first said it because
I
I thought
know.
you were being a
I just
homer.
need people to hear me out because I understand what it looks like. But I promise this was very thought.
Thought out.
I promise this was shuffling all around and everything.
And I mean, you know the roster better than a lot of
You
people,
know,
so
I will say I've been around Oklahoma women's basketball.
just a little bit.
If anyone's gonna know, I would like to think it would be me. But
Yeah.
yes. And then as you
Um,
kind of go down just a little bit further, I think
yeah.
I had Ole Miss, I had Vandy. I think the only thing, and I think I would change honestly, about my ballot, looking back at it, I
Yeah.
had Kentucky a little bit lower. I had them at 10. I would probably
Okay.
bump them up a spot or 2, more in line
Okay.
with the SEC poll.
Yeah.
Clara Shack is going to be fantastic this year. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a bit more of a down year for Kentucky, and
Yeah.
the recruiting is going to really kick in next year. With
Hell,
what they play
Savvy
with.
Swords, let's go.
Way. She's on the way.
Woo!
So if they end up being a little bit higher, then I had them at 10th on mine. If they end up
Yeah.
being more like that 8 spot, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised. And I might, looking back, I might have bumped them up a little bit higher than where I had them at. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, Ole Miss, Vandy the same. That I had Mississippi State, Alabama, Kentucky in mine.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's go down to preseason player of the year. Of course, the poll has Madison Booker from Texas as player of the year. Do you agree? Do you not
Let
agree?
me talk about this vote here. Because let me put it like this. I didn't vote for Madison Booker. I don't disagree with Madison Booker being the pick.
Okay. Okay.
I have no issue with Madison Booker being the pick.
You
She
put
won
Reagan
last
Peters,
year.
didn't you?
No, I didn't. No, I
Oh!
didn't. No, no, I didn't.
Okay, okay.
Because if you look, you know what's crazy? My
Okay.
pick is on All SEC second team right now. My pick is Tania Latson
Okay.
from South
Okay, but,
Carolina.
like, some of these people don't know what Tania Latson was doing last season, so I
So
get where you're going.
let me get into it then, because I couldn't believe, and that's no, because there's so much talent in the SEC. I can't even begin to describe how difficult it was
Yes,
narrowing it down to 10 players, and like how
100%.
like it was brutal. I spent like legitimately like hours going back and forth. This
Well, that's
tab was
why
open on my computer for like 3 days. Like,
yeah,
and I
well,
would
that's
just
why
keep coming back to it.
the second team is 6 players.
Well, I didn't
Makes
get
sense.
6 votes.
Yeah.
I only got 5 votes,
Yeah, exactly.
but I picked Tania Latson as my player of the year. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
One, obviously it's Tania Latson.
Yeah.
She's been stamped as like every year she's near the top of the scoring list, right? At Florida State.
Yeah.
I think that she's gonna be able to show more of the playmaking off that she's ever had, just based on the talent she has around her. And like she's going to be asked to do a lot, but not in the same way where it was like, we are going to lose this game if you do not produce.
Yes,
Like how it was at Florida State.
Yeah.
And here's the big thing that I can't get out of my mind about why Tania Latson is going to be successful at South Carolina.
Mhm.
Every time South Carolina has suffered a big loss, Dawn has evolved.
Yeah.
Take it back to the Final Four against Iowa. They had no 3-point shooting
Yep.
whatsoever. And they get cooked from 3. What
Yep.
does she do? She goes as Tahina Pau, who's a
Mhm.
knockdown 3-point shooter. They go undefeated and they win the national championship. This season, what did they lack? Scoring. They could
Mhm.
not score. It was a struggle to just put points on the board, and it showed. It showed in March. So what does she
Yeah.
do? She goes and gets Tania Latson, the NCAA scorer. And I'm
Yeah.
supposed to think that she's not gonna unleash that. And I understand the concern when you saw like with my Legend for Wiley and like kind of like the kind of like the quick leash or the short leash on that and like how that would work in that
But it's
way.
different.
But this Tania Latson
Tania
is
Latson
stamped.
has more experience, which Dawn has proven to be able
Mhm.
to, like, lets her players go a little bit more when they have that experience.
Yeah.
I think she's tested. I think that she, has that kind of like calmness
Mhm.
on the floor that she's able to kind of produce in big moments. But yeah, if you weren't watching Tania Latson last season, I was
Man,
put on her like
get ready for a
mid-season.
show. Get ready, and also notably playing with her AAU point guard in Raven Johnson.
Exactly.
So like, there's already a
Exactly.
level of like comfortability I feel like there, and I
Yep.
just I have no issue with anyone picking Madison Booker because Madison Booker is a ridiculous talent. She's so good.
Mhm.
Texas is going to be very good this year in
Yep.
terms of like record and like how that plays into it. Not worried about that aspect, but I think we might be able to have the counting stats that go into being these individual player award winners while also having the success. I think you're going to be looking at Tania Latson more for that than you will
Mhm.
Madison Booker. Because I mean, Texas just plays a slower pace. Like it's just now, like if you put Madison Booker in a high engine offense, she can go and get you the point totals you're seeing from a
100%.
Tania Latson. I think you could bank on that, but that's just not what Texas does.
No.
Whereas I think you're going to see South Carolina not into like some crazy high pace, super fast offense,
No.
but Tania Latson, I think is you don't go and get Tania Latson if you're not going to allow her to have the ball in her hands and say, "Go get us a bucket," especially with the way that South Carolina struggled offensively last year. So I'm willing to bet on it. I understand the concerns. I understand this new. I'm willing to bet on Tania Latson there with that pick.
And I think people don't realize, like, she's coming from the ACC, which is a very guard-heavy conference,
Mm,
into the SEC, which very much, you know, prioritizes, I think, post play a little bit more.
yeah.
So I do think she's gonna be able to really use that to her advantage and be really strong as a guard and
Mm.
be able to, show some of the defense that's on her. I mean, I think the defense that was on her in the ACC was elite. She's going up
Yeah,
against
it
players like
wasn't a bad one
Hannah
bit. Yeah,
Hidalgo, et cetera,
I
et cetera. So, like,
I think
you
there's
ready?
like I think it's fair to ask the question when anyone goes into the SEC, how do they deal with the physicality of the SEC? Because I
Yeah.
think he's like you have like kind of different archetypes as you mentioned. ACC is very guard heavy. To
Mhm.
me, the SEC there's like the defensive pressure that the SEC can put on you. The athleticism within the SEC is elite. Like it's top of the country, no doubt. And so like that
Mhm.
is like I think a fair question of any person going into the SEC. How do you handle that? And frankly, I'm just not concerned with how Tania has been able to do her thing against just about any team. Like
Yeah.
I'm simply not, especially with more pieces around her. I'm not worried about how that transition is going to go.
Yeah. So let's move into first team and second team all
Yeah.
SEC. I mean, first team, you have Flau'jae Johnson, Reagan Beers, Joyce Edwards, Madison Booker, and Michaela Blakes. I'm assuming one of those is switched for Tanaya Latson for
Yeah,
you.
I had Joyce on my second team and Tanaya
Okay.
on my first team. I just switched out the Gamecocks there, but everything else I
Yeah.
have the exact same.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Michaela Blakes is about to have a year, which is so
Mhm.
exciting. I mean, you and I were really big on Vanderbilt last year.
Mhm.
They lose Camille Pierre this year. With all of that, again, still
Mhm.
don't really know what was going on there, but whatever, you know, you move on. You still have Michaela Blakes. And so that I'm really excited for her sophomore season. And then second team, they had 6. I'm assuming there were some ties, there was some
Yeah.
whatever, because there's 6 players in the second team. You have Claire Strack, Michaela Williams from LSU, Cody McMahon, Ole Miss, Tanaya Latson, South Carolina, Talasia Cooper, Tennessee, and Rory Harmon, Texas. Obviously, yours looks a little bit different because they have 6 and you have 5.
I need people to hear me out again. Okay? I have Talia Cooper. I
Okay.
have Joyce Edwards instead of Tanaya. I
Okay.
have Cody McMahon.
Okay.
I have Michaela Williams.
Mhm.
And while I don't disagree with the picks of Claire Strack and Roy Horn, again, so my last pick, those 4 I got, and I was like, okay, I feel good about these 4. It was that
Yeah.
last spot that like I had like legitimately like 6 players, like 6 or 7 players. Where I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know who I'm putting here.
Yeah.
I put Peyton Verhulst from Oklahoma, and let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. I know what it looks like. I swear I know what it looks like, but let me tell you why. Okay,
They're gonna come for you.
last year, Peyton Verhulst was tasked with doing way more than she should have in terms of bringing the ball up, things of that nature. Like, there was just too much on her plate.
Mhm.
I think with Aaliyah Chavez on this team, the pace is going to get even faster, which is insane to say about the Oklahoma women's basketball team. It's going to get even faster, I feel like. But also, it's going to allow things to open up for Peyton Verhulst even more, who again is one of the best shot makers in the entire nation. I stand by that. She
There
is
you
one of the
go.
best shot makers in the entire nation. And I think she's incredibly versatile. Like, again, she was bringing the ball up and doing whatever she needed. Like, she's a top playmaker, a top shot maker. I think the defense, when she's locked in on defense, and I hope I get a little bit more of that, frankly.
Mhm.
It's there. The size is there. Like, that's a WNBA player.
Mhm.
And so I'm hoping with another year of Reagan Beers, the dominance there, you're adding Aaliyah Chavez, that it just opens up even more for Payne Verhulst this season. So that's what I'm banking on there. And I
Sure.
understand how it looks, but I
Sure.
promise it was thought out. I promise this was 4 days worth of just having this
Of
tab open.
mental energy.
Oh my goodness, I was
So
so
many
drained.
trips to the Waffle House.
Man, I needed more. I
You
needed
need
more.
more. You need more Waffle House.
Yeah, but yes, I do believe that it's just gonna open up even more for Peyton Verhulst. And again, there's so much I can't even begin to describe how tough it was, especially that last spot to try and
Yeah, I bet.
dwindle it down to 1 player because we only got 5 votes. And obviously you see, I
Yeah.
mean, there was ties
Okay.
and
Yeah,
my
there's
player
a lot
wasn't
of
even on
stuff.
there. So
Yeah,
like it was,
exactly.
you know what I mean? So like there was legitimately we didn't get like a full like voting thing of like
Yeah, I
who
like a
all received
breakdown.
votes, but I'd imagine that last spot, like there was votes all over the
Oh,
SEC.
I'm sure it was all over,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, here's my hot take here. I think that the player of the year will not be from the SEC. One last thing we're going to talk about before we wrap up this pod is the
Mhm.
fact that the national championship champions played their first exhibition game yesterday. UConn women's basketball is back, baby. Put your accusations of my bias in the comments.
Mhm.
It's funny
I
how
will be there.
I get accused of UConn bias. Meanwhile, I'm from Canada, but whatever,
Mhm.
it's fine. But yeah, UConn played, and I do want to put in my prediction now for Sarah Strong Player of the Year. I don't think it's that much
Bold.
of a hot take. Bold. Yeah.
Bold.
Whoa, she's really on to
Mhm.
someone there. But Sarah Strong yesterday, she played 22 minutes. She scored 17 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and was 11 or 8 for 11 from the field
That
in
triple
22.
double is coming this season, and I will be there no matter what. I will be there no matter
I will be
what.
seated.
Yeah.
I will be seated. Year 2, Sarah Strong. Think about what we got in year 1, Sarah Strong.
Mhm.
Like her and Paige Beckers, which again, I mean, we're in the post Paige Beckers era right now.
Mhm.
Teardrop falls. But anyway,
Yeah, no bias.
um, no bias. But like the fact that she looked like such an all around, you know, elite, experienced player in year one. Helps UConn, and don't get me wrong, I think the whole team was talented. I do not think they win a national championship without the stability of Sarah Strong. Like,
Oh,
she
no.
was just, and so you get into year two, sure, the roster changes a little bit, but you still have AZ Fudd there to kind of provide that guard, 1-2 pick and roll kind of play that Sarah Strong and Paige Becker started last season. You still have that chemistry. You add in someone like Sarah Williams to kind of help her in the front court. You add in, a few other different transfer portal pieces. You add in the fact that, like, KK Arnold is going into her junior year. You have a lot of experience now on UConn, given the fact that the past few years they have been struggling with that. A lot of freshmen have had to step up, et cetera, et cetera. But just the fact that Sarah Strong was that good in year one and is now going into year two after a summer of development, after, winning a national championship. I mean, I'm pumped. There's no words to describe how good she is and what is coming for her.
Yeah, I think she's gonna revolutionize women's basketball.
Woo!
I really do. Like, I think, like, in terms of, like, when you think of, I don't know, maybe, like, I think it's like what you're kind of almost seeing with Aaliyah Boston in the W right now, like the point forward aspect, and like if you're on the NBA side, like, you have like your Jokic type style of player. That's what like Sarah Strong is like that, but she didn't have to grow into it. She's just that.
No,
like,
she's
like
just
you know,
that.
there's no like development of like, okay, we're gonna like, you were back to the basket, but we're gonna turn you into, like we see your playmaking, so we're gonna turn you. No.
She does
She just does
everything
everything already. And
flawlessly.
yeah, no. So
She can assist, she gets
by the time
boards, she can
Sarah Strong
defend.
is in the WNBA, I'm going to be terrified for what that is going to look like in terms of player development, in terms of where she's going to be at, because she's going to be so good. She already is so good. But yeah, I'm incredibly excited. We're getting that triple double this year. I'm putting that out into the universe. I don't have enough like good things to say about Sarah Strong. I mean, she's
neither.
fantastic.
She's incredible. And the fact that, I mean, the Toronto Tempo just simply have to, be an expansion team and just hope that they get that number one pick.
Can't say that anymore after Golden State.
Nope.
Say the word.
Sorry.
Toronto Tempo. What's the other T word? Tank.
Toronto Tempo tank alliteration.
You got a tank. You say the word. I'm not afraid to say it. Tank.
Me either. Let's go. I joke everywhere I go that the first season for Toronto Tempo is the tank for Juju season. And then we're just going to do the tank for Sarah Strong season. And so again, I'm at this watch party on Friday night and we're talking about the tempo, whatever. And at one point I go, who cares about next year? We're tanking for Juju. And everybody at the watch party goes, oh my God, if we got Juju, the whole city would be crazy. That Tempo Juju, jersey would absolutely slap. Like, people are, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not set in stone. Like, it's whatever, but the manifestation is happening. And with her out this season in the NCAA, I mean, not that Sarah Strong, not that it was like automatic that Juju was going to win Player of the Year again, blah, 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 blah. But like, I mean, who is better in the country right now than Sarah Strong?
She's open.
I mean, with Juju out for the season officially,
I'm sure Hannah Hidalgo has something to say about it.
She can say what she wants about it.
Like, I'm just saying, like, I'm terms of like thinking about who's going to be competing.
Yeah, no, and I do think there will be some competition. And don't get me wrong, I think Hidalgo's a fantastic player, but I just think that Sarah Strong is an all-around player.
I can't disagree with you. I mean, it's Sarah Strong. I'm not gonna disagree with any like positive thoughts going towards Sarah Strong. I'm just not.
And the fact that like you end the Paige Beckers era, and this is just, I mean, UConn basketball, but you end the Paige Beckers era, and we're just at the beginning of the Sarah Strong era. It's good. It's good. It's going to be a great season. I'm excited. I'm very pumped that we're headed back into college hoop season. Like we were saying before we hit record on the pod, there's a crispness in the air, at least here and in Mississippi.
Not really here yet, but I can take it's coming. I'm ready.
Said that there's a crispness in the air in Mississippi, and it's college basketball season. And so it's going to be a great year. But I mean, he's coming back. There he goes.
I mean, there's a crispness until around noon. Then it's back to
Exactly. That's
weather,
the
and we're
thing.
sweating, and hey, here we go.
Yeah,
There you go.
it feels solid in the mornings here too, but nah. Once that sun
No.
really comes out.
Thanksgiving has come and gone, and it is time for college basketball in another
Right.
country, not in my country. But the
Come on.
Canadians are going to be popping off this year, so
There you go.
there we
There you
go.
go.
And we have one game so far that's going to be played in Toronto. So
A win is a
Vanderbilt,
win.
baby.
A win is a win.
But yeah, so very exciting times. We're gonna cap it off here just because we talked. I mean, we talked WNBA, we talked CBA, we talked SEC, we talked UConn. So a lot going down. But I mean, just things are going to keep rolling this week. The WNBA stuff isn't quite finished yet. We still have a parade to go through on Friday, which I'm sure is going to provide us with many talking points, knowing the Las Vegas Aces and the fun that they bring to everything they do. But then, I mean, the first AP poll is going to drop. So that'll be fun to talk about as well. So make sure to subscribe to Her Hoop Stats here if you're watching on YouTube or listening, wherever you're listening. Check us out on social media at Her Hoop Stats, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, and subscribe at herhoopstats.com for a daily newsletter to be dropped into your inbox. I mean, I'm Chelsea Leite. Tyler DeLuca was here with me. B-Mac has joined for the end of the party. B-Mac. And, thanks so much for watching. We'll be back soon here on the Her Hoop Stats podcast.